if nobody is holding you accountable, you're probably just lying to yourself, right? Accountability is something that not everybody wants, but probably every single one of us, if we admit it, we really need it. And maybe you've been trying to make changes in your life. Maybe you've been trying to discover, hey, what is my purpose in life? And nothing's changing because nobody's checking in on you, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things. We all want results, but very few people want the accountability that helps lead to those results. And it's exactly to that we want to discuss on today's episode of the Live Your Purpose podcast. My name is Sayer. I'm the host of the show. And if you've been listening for a long time, you know that we love to bring guests on the show to discuss the topics at hand. And today I have an extra special guest. His name is Travis Hint. Travis, you have had so many titles over the years. It goes from friend to coworker to, somebody that I look up to, somebody that pushes me. And you've held many different titles within the military. I see, obviously, if you're watching this podcast, you'll see there's a certificate right behind him. He's a man of the law now, is what I say. And he's a husband, he's a father, and he is somebody that I communicate with extremely regularly. In fact, I would say at this point, Travis, it's pretty much daily, isn't it? So welcome to the show. And I'm excited for us to get to talk about this subject of accountability because it's something that you and I have kind of been doing off and on for a long time, but it really ramped up over the last couple years, I would say.
Yeah. So you had talked about titles, if we're going to talk about titles, I got to tell you, first and foremost, man of faith. Man of faith is the number one title. Second title, husband. Third title, father. Fourth title, friend. Everything else doesn't matter because it doesn't. In the long run, it doesn't. And, you talk about purpose and what is the point of purpose? Well, everybody has to answer that question individually, and everybody has more than just one purpose. And Sarah, you've got a purpose. I've got a purpose. You establish that purpose, and then you have to find like-minded people that help push you and drive you towards that purpose. And that's why we're here today, right?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, and you would understand this having a background in the military, obviously. I talked about it on our previous episode of the show that a lot of times we have different missions, but often I think our purpose centers around those things that you just mentioned, the things that we value the most, right? When we're talking about what is my purpose in life, I think you have to decide what are those most important titles that I hold, and that is my purpose. Like you said, man of faith, husband, father, and friend, and like those are your values and the things that are most important to you in this life. That's the purpose that you would revert to no matter what. Those are the no matter what things, but missionally things can change often, which I think is the most interesting thing about when we reflect on, hey, what is my purpose? Why do I need accountability? There's those seasons that feel like, man, I don't have anything going on right now. I feel like I have no purpose, but it's really the differentiation between mission and purpose, because you always have a God to serve, right? You always have people in your life that you can be friends with, people that you can serve with at the church or whatever it may be, but you may not always have that distinct mission of like, oh, I'm supposed to be pursuing this career at this time, or I'm supposed to be pursuing fatherhood or motherhood at this time. It changes and evolves constantly.
Right. I think you can break it down. So when I was in the military, when we would conduct missions, I would essentially break it down into three categories, and I call them the 3Ds. When we're on a mission, you'd have to desire something. So what is your desire? What is your desire? What is your purpose? What is your mission? You have to desire something. Once you decide what your desire is or what your purpose is, then you have to determine the course of action that you have to take to get to that desire or to get to that mission or to get to that purpose. So you have desire, you have determination, where you make that determination. But then the most important part, and I think the part where most people fail, is the dedication and the discipline. The discipline is where people usually fail because, it's January. It's January what, 9th? It's January 9th. We always see an influx, like with physical fitness this time of the year. Why? Because the holidays pass, people put on a little bit of that winter weight, and then they want to, lose that. That's their desire. And then they determine, okay, I need to eat healthy. I need to get a membership at a gym. I need to get latest fitness equipment or like a new pair of shoes or whatever it is. But then they always fail on that third step, which is the dedication or the discipline. And that's where having the accountability partner or having somebody that holds you accountable, that's where that comes in. Because it's one thing to hold yourself accountable, but it's another thing to have another person that's also checking in on you, whether that be daily like you and I do, or it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever it is. And that's anytime in the military that we would see a success or a failure, you would see the success where they found the desire, they had the determination to figure out how to achieve the desire, and then they had the discipline to do the first two steps. And usually if you had a failure, it was one of the three broke down. You didn't have a true purpose and what your plan was, or you didn't have the true discipline to carry it out.
Do you feel like you've always had that discipline, or do you feel like that was something that you learned over time? Like, I think for people who may not feel the most disciplined, is it possible to learn that as like a skill? Is it something that you have to just take one day at a time and pick one small thing to do over and over and over again to kind of teach yourself to be disciplined? Or is that something that, when did that click for you, and how did you become a disciplined human being?
Oh gosh, I still don't consider myself a disciplined human being because every day is a struggle, regardless of what it is. I mean, if we want to talk fitness, if we want to talk finances, career aspirations, growing close with the Lord, being a family man, you can chalk in any category, and every day you have to get up and you have to put on your shoes and you have to go to work, all of being disciplined. And it's not something where, oh, so-and-so's disciplined. It's every day they work at being disciplined. But I don't think you ever truly achieve the title of so-and-so is disciplined,
Hmm.
because every day it's a struggle. It's just some people are more consistent at being disciplined. And for me, if we're talking fitness, for me, it started in 2012. 2012, I stepped on a scale, and I was the opposite. When I would step on a scale, I was scrawny. You could see my rib cage. You could see my collarbones. I was very thin. I mean, a swift breeze would blow me over, and I didn't like that. And so I, I sat down and I did a goal of the classic 30-day approach, 90-day approach, 120-day approach. What does this look like? Where do you want to be? And then I was like, okay, this is what I desire. And this is what I'm determining I'm going to have to do in order to make that desire. And now I've got to have the discipline to carry it out. And it was something that I started in 2012 just for physical fitness. I mean, you chalk in marriage, shoot, I've been married since 2008. And every day it's that reoccurring commitment of, I serve my wife. My wife is my other half. She's my significant other. What do I have to do to remain disciplined to her? Because every day is a battle. I mean, every day you have to put on that suit of armor and go to work.
Yeah, it's a daily choice, isn't it? I mean, you could choose any day to go eat donuts and pizza and whatever you want to do, just sit around, or you can choose to do the discipline thing. You can choose to make better choices. That's the tough part about it, is that it is a daily choice. You're so right about that. I want to kind of rewind for people to understand this as well. You and I graduated high school together back in 2008 as well. I'm going to throw up a picture on YouTube for anybody that's watching that as proof that you and I did graduate together. There's a funny picture of where I think I'm the most sunburnt in the face that I had ever been in my entire life in that picture. So I'll never live that down, but it's funny to look back at. You and I were, I would say we were like kind of friends in high school, right? We were like friendly because of our fandom of the Denver Broncos. And I always remember you had the Jerry Rice jersey for the Broncos. You better still have
Still
that
got it.
jersey.
I still got it. I still
Good.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still
One
got
of
it.
the few. And for those who are listening that have no idea what we're talking about, Jerry Rice, he is a Denver Broncos legend. Absolutely. 100%. You can Google it to find out. Hey, number 19. That's right. So when we talk about this, I think physical fitness is a great thing to lean into. I'll admit too that my journey kind of started back in 2011, 2012 as well. And it really does boil down to, you remember the infomercials that used to rule the TV
I
late at night,
Yeah,
like
I know exactly where
P90X,
you're going with
and
this. There it is, right there. Yeah,
dude, it's exactly what motivated me, because I'm watching. I don't know why I'm up watching infomercials at 2 a.m., but I think many people had this experience, right? So you're up at 2 a.m., the TV is on, and all of a sudden onto the screen pops this super energetic guy who's talking about getting people fit in 90 days, and it's committing to a program, but what you're seeing is before and after, right? You're seeing these drastic changes that people made in 90 days, and you're sitting there thinking like, okay, if that's real, like I can do that, I can do, if that person can do it, I want to do it. Right. And there's so much more that goes into it than just committing to, all right, I'm going to buy P90X. I'm going to buy that program and I'm going to have it in my, arsenal of DVDs or whatever. And I'm going to do that program every single day. And I'm going to get, like, there's a huge difference between that and then actually going ahead and not only putting in the work to do whatever the workouts are, but then to say, I'm going to eat right on top of it. I'm going to make sure I'm getting daily steps in. I'm going to make sure that I'm not doing this or that or the other. Like, it's such a multifaceted thing, which is where I think it's so important to have other people coming into the mix. And so let's fast forward back again, unless you have thoughts on that. Fast forward to the point at which you and I started texting back and forth about fitness stuff, because this is it's expanded into so much more than just fitness, right? It's us talking about being better dads. We talk about Stranger Things, all sorts of fun stuff in the group text that we have, but it's that daily check-in and accountability pushing each other that I feel like has led to results that you and I have both been longing for and maybe have just never achieved because we didn't have that accountability.
Right. Absolutely. And so, gosh, to back up, so a little bit more background about me, Sarah, which maybe you don't know. When I was in the Army, I was a master physical fitness trainer, which that responsibility and that title, I was responsible for making sure that the unit that I was a part of maintained their physical fitness standards. And then anybody who started to fall below those standards, it was my job and my responsibility, my duty almost, to help raise their standard and get them to where they needed to be and kind of be like their physical fitness coach. And a lot of times the thing that they lacked was that accountability partner, that person that's constantly checking in on them and saying, hey, what'd you have for meals today? What did your physical fitness look like? And then if everybody runs into snags, hey, today it didn't happen today. Well, that's fine. What do we have to do tomorrow to where we can overcome the stresses that overcame you today to where tomorrow we're not hit with those burdens? And that's where the accountability partner really comes into play. And like our text messages, I remember you would text me, it was about a year ago of, here's my fitness center. Here's what I have. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Where do I have to go from here? And what are some things that I can do as far as activities or workouts using what I have to get better, to find that goal and to find that end result? And that's kind of where we started. We started with that. And then it was, gosh, it seems like you would say what we've texted each other. I would say every other day. It would be a good, accurate statement.
Yeah, I mean, there's been very least.
Yeah, there's been, you think of like Snapchat and there's the streets or whatever. And
Right.
Our text exchange, gosh, we're probably at a solid 6-month streak right now of every day checking in some capacity.
Yeah.
And that's what you need in life. You need somebody that's going to check in on you. And it's not just somebody checking in on you or you checking in on somebody else. But I think the more important thing that you have to have, which you've been fantastic at, is honesty of, yeah, today, here's what I did. And here's how I did it. I'd love to give you grief about the treadmill and about incline and about just walking on it with your little weighted vest. But you're very honest in it and you're very open about it. And that's something where if you're going to have that accountability partner, it's half the step is finding the accountability partner. And then the other step is being honest with that and checking in with that. Because like we look at, We look at our group chat that we have right now. There's 4 of us in the group chat. If we're being honest, there's one person that's in the chat that they don't regularly check in. And I bet if we fast forward a year from now, who has seen results and who hasn't seen results, the one person that's not checking in as frequently as the others probably might not see the results as well. But then who knows? Maybe we're going to be pleasantly surprised and it's going to be a shock and awe. Don't know.
Yeah.
But comes on us of, are we doing our due diligence of checking in?
Yeah. I love something that you said in there too about and I don't remember exactly what you said, but it made me think of this, that a person that you want to hold you accountable has to be somebody who is either already on the way to where that you want to go, or somebody who's already been where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? And I remember very distinctly, there was a video that you sent me or a picture that you sent me at one point in time of your home gym in your garage. And I looked at all the equipment that you had in your garage, and it wasn't it wasn't necessarily an immediate jealousy. It was an immediate, like, why am I so far behind that? Like, why haven't I thought of that? Or why haven't I invested in that? As far as like, I have all these goals and I'll sit there and wonder to the end of the day, like, why am I not reaching these goals that I have, and I'm, eating intuitively, and I don't have the right equipment, and I don't have anybody pushing me other than myself. And it's really just a totally self-directed goal setting mindset, which I think is a big deal to admit and acknowledge, because it's like we feel like accountability oftentimes is going to limit our freedom, when really all it does is expose our excuses. Like you said, if you're not coming into the text thread and saying anything whatsoever, I'm going to know, like, hey, things probably aren't going very well. Just today, we sent a text just this week, even we've sent texts saying like, hey, what are you guys eating today? What are you guys doing this week? How are your workouts going this week? Would you say that you've made more excuses, or would you say that you've made more progress, or that you've just said yes to your, what you have to do, instead of no to what you don't want to do, right? Those are big things. What would you say has been the biggest element of like, okay, I needed that in this text thread today, or I needed that push from somebody else? What's been a big motivating factor for you in our daily accountability, would you say?
Man, that's a great point. I would say, you go back to the Bible, and the Bible talks about iron sharpens iron. And there's so many coaches out there that use that motto, and there's so many athletes out there that use that motto, and, successful people all around, they use that motto of iron sharpens iron. And I can't even fathom how much truth there is behind that. Because for me, the biggest thing that motivates me, if I'm being brutally honest, is when I get a text message from Sarah or one of the others that's in the group chat, and they're like, here's what I did today, crushed it. And what did I do today? Well, I slept in. I didn't find my way into the garage, or, maybe for breakfast, I went a little too far on the calorie intake than what I should have done. And those are the moments where it's like, oh, God darn it, because I'm a very competitive guy. I mean, the competitive genes in me are very strong. And when I see somebody else that has done something, I mean, it's a huge motivator to me to try to not necessarily one up them, but like, oh man, if they're doing it, I'm gonna pull my own weight. And that even goes back to my time in the military. I mean, my time in the military, like I did a course that's called air assault. And at the very end, you have to do a 12-mile ruck march with it's like a 35-pound ruck on your back. And you've got 3 hours to complete it. From start to finish, you have to go 12 miles. And I'll never forget doing that out in Oregon. And there are guys that are, ahead of me, and they're trotting, and I'm like speed walking like I'm in a mall. And I'm like, man, if they're trotting, I can trot, because if they can do it, I can do it. And that's been the biggest motivator for me, is like going back to our group chat of when I see, you or one of the other fellows getting after it, it's like, I have to pull my weight, because I've got the privilege of being a part of this. if I'm not going to pull my weight, then I need to bow out. And it goes back to the 3Ds. You got to have the discipline of if they're doing it, so can I. And if they're finding time in their busy schedule, because you've got your fingers in I don't know how many jars of different things that you're involved in, Sarah, and you're married, you've got wonderful kids, you've got every excuse available to you to say, I can't today. And yet you always find time. And if you can find time, then I definitely can find time. And that's been the biggest thing to hold me accountable is when I get a text message from you of, here's what I ate and here's the nutrients that are involved in it. I mean, even little things like I had a snack at 10 o'clock today, and I know you can guess exactly what I had for a snack because of you. I've now found a reoccurring snack that almost every day I have the same snack at 10 o'clock.
Is it the jelly on the bread?
The jelly on the bread.
There we go.
Yeah. I can't even tell you what the name of the bread is, but I can tell you it's 10 grams of protein per slice. And the jelly's like 5 grams of you get a tablespoon of it and it's 5 calories. But the fact that I'm consuming 20 grams of protein with just 2 slices of bread, I mean, that's essentially a protein bar, but yet it's more fulfilling and it's more filling and it carries me through the morning. But that's compliments of my accountability guy. It's compliments of you.
Well, speaking of, you said something earlier about pulling your weight and your competitive nature. Remember I think we've done this multiple times, but there was one day where we went back and forth with like 5 or 6 videos of each other doing pull-ups and putting weights between our legs and being like, watch, look at this. And then, Travis has like his kid dangling off his back plus 100 pounds. And it's like, okay, well, I guess you win for today. I ain't doing that. So we got to get our wives involved in that pull-up competition, by the way. And by that, I mean, having them draped on our backs to see if we can match that. That'd be amazing.
Man, let me refresh your memory. I did that.
You did. That's right. That's why I'm even thinking it, because you have set that bar to that level. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, that's exactly it too. And like we send each other like progress updates. We're not just talking about intention. I think that's a big thing when it comes to accountability. Like somebody once said, accountability is the gap between intention and transformation. So what we're sending is not just ideas, we're sending progress. We're sending things that we actually did. And I think that a huge part of accountability is celebrating small wins. Like we don't just bag on each other for not doing stuff. We encourage each other for doing stuff. We get excited about each other's small wins, whether it's, oh shoot, I did a pull up with 50 pounds between my legs, and you're like, hey, that's awesome, watch me do it with 60, and it's just it's that fun competition, but it's also the encouragement of like, dude, you're looking absolutely shredded right now, or, oh, I love that idea of that as a low calorie, high protein snack. I'm going to implement that into my routine. It's that gap between intention and actual transformation, because ultimately, if you're not transforming behavior, all you have are good intentions, and good intentions don't lead anywhere when it comes to living your purpose, when it comes to achieving your goals, or anything along those lines.
Yeah, well, and it's also about celebrating wins. I mean, my favorite win that I got to share in the group chat was just a couple of weeks ago. I had the privilege of taking my family to Florida, and we went on a trip, and Christmas Day, we were out doing activities all day. We're making our way back to the hotel. It's like 10:30 at night. My daughter, who's 9, is completely gassed. She's tired. Her battery's empty. The fun tank, as we like to call it, is gone. And she looked at me and she said, Dad, can you hold me? And I said, you're darn right, I can. And I picked her up and I carried her out of where we were, walked her all the way back to our ride, and then got a ride back to the hotel, and then carried her from where we got dropped off all the way to the room and put her in bed. And my wife took a picture of me carrying her, and she's asleep, all wrapped over my arms and stuff. And I sent that picture into the group chat, and it was just like, this is the why, because it is like, for me, it's about mobility, and it's about fitness standards, and it's about being able to be there for the kids and be able to be there and not just be present, but be actively engaged. Like my son wants to go out and jump on the trampoline. I'm able to do that. And being able to share in that group chat that, hey, fellas, I just carried my daughter. I think it was like close to 2.5 miles that I carried her. And then when we're in the bus getting transported back, we were at Universal Studios. And when we're leaving the theme park and we're in the bus getting transported back to the hotel, there wasn't an available seat. And there's a bunch of individuals that look like they could stand. Yeah, but there I am. I'm standing there, got one hand underneath my daughter, the other hand on a bar, stabilizing myself so we don't topple over, and being able to hold her throughout that entire trip and then carry her all the way back to the hotel. I mean, that to me is the fulfilling purpose of going back to the 3Ds. What does Travis desire? Well, I desire to be able to do that if I'm in that situation. Or, we joke about the pull-ups and having my wife, hang off my back like a monkey. What's the purpose of that? Well, if there's ever a situation where my wife's on my back and I have to physically pull us up, am I able to do that? And that, that stems from my military days of what I would tell the guys of, this is why you have to be physically fit, is because your physical fitness could mean the life or death of one of your fellow brothers and sisters in arms. Because if you're not physically able to save them or even save yourself, then you're no longer an asset, you're a liability. And that's the last thing the armed forces want. And that's the last thing that I want as a family man within my family, because my family looks at me and I'm the solid ground.
You're the foundation. I love that. And I think that it leads me to this question. What would you look for if you're a listener of the show? What would you look for in an accountability partner? How would you identify somebody that you can, okay, I need to reach out to this person and ask if they want to do something like this, and just make that ask, because it can be super awkward, I think, for people to do that. So what would be your process in, number one, identifying that person, and number two, maybe making that ask of somebody?
Yeah, it's like-minded individuals. So you have to find somebody who's a like-minded individual, or somebody that aligns with your desire, because it goes back to the 3Ds that we talked about. I can't stress them enough. What is that desire? What's that purpose? You have to find somebody that has that same purpose and that same calling as what you're chasing. Because if you find somebody who has that same purpose and that same desire, then there's your golden ticket. Whereas if you find somebody who's already there, whether it's fitness or whether it's, professional success, it's going to be hard for them to challenge you when they're already there, because they're already pushing on for something that's better, something that's greater, or something that's further down the road. But if you can find somebody that's in that same position that you're in and they're chasing the same thing, well, then it's, it goes back into that iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between finding a mentor and finding somebody to do accountability with, right? When it comes to
100%.
A mentor is somebody who's already not necessarily, because it's always a climb. Like you said, discipline and all this is a daily thing for all of us. But there are people that you would say like, hey, that's a wise like mentor that I want to go to and seek wisdom and counsel from, as opposed to somebody like who's like-minded and that I can do this alongside. I think that's an important distinction to be made. Let's close it out. If you have any closing thoughts yourself, I want to hear those too. But I'm interested to know maybe what's the most valuable thing that you would share from your wealth of experiences in life and being a family man, military, the workforce, whatever it may be. What's maybe your most valuable piece of wisdom that you could share with the listeners, and maybe some final words of encouragement from you?
Absolutely. It's not a statement. It's a question. And the question is, how do you eat an elephant? It's a question that I ask myself all the time. How do you eat an elephant? Well, you eat it one bite at a time. And so in life, whenever you're facing something that is an obstacle, it's your elephant. You have to eat it one bite at a time. And some days there's going to be wonderful parts where stuff is going really well. Then there's going to be other parts where you have to eat the toe or the husk of an elephant, and it's not enjoyable. But I mean, you just have to stay in the grind, and you have to stay after it, because if you stay after it, well, you eat the elephant one bite at a time. And if you're going to continue to stay disciplined and stay after it, then you're going to find those goals and you're going to find those accomplishments, whether it's in the fitness facility, whether it's at your house with your family, or whether it's out in your successful, in your business life. if you stay after it, you stay after the grind, even when it's tough and it's not fun and it's not enjoyable, that's when you're going to find success, is finding that discipline to stay after it. And it helps when you have a buddy along the way.
Well said, my friend. It's eating the elephant one bite at a time, or if you're me, it's eating the slightly undercooked egg whites with ketchup and mustard one bite at a time. You got to be willing to do some of the difficult stuff to see the results that you want sometime. But yeah, that is still, there's better alternatives than that, everybody. There's much better alternatives. But I want to just say once again, thank you to you, Travis, for being on the show today. And thank you to everybody that's out there listening. We hope that you found value from this. We hope that you found inspiration from this. And if you did, we would really appreciate if you would hit subscribe wherever you're listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, drop us a comment, like the video, all those sorts of things to help us continue to grow this show. And we just want to continue to add value to your life and to hopefully lead you on your God-given purpose. So we appreciate you for tuning in today, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.